Some criminals are so infamous that their stories have become legends. From elusive masterminds to ruthless killers, these are the most wanted criminals in US history. Their crimes shocked the nation, their faces plastered on wanted posters across the country. Stick around because you won't believe who made this list. Before we begin, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more jaw-dropping stories. First up, we're heading back to the Wild West, a time of cowboys, saloons, and outlaws. Jesse James, man, this guy was like the original gangster of the West. Born and raised in Missouri, he grew up during the Civil War, and let me tell you, that messed you up. After the war, James and his brother Frank formed a gang and started robbing banks and trains. They were like the Robin Hood of the West, or at least that's how they saw themselves. But the truth is, they were ruthless criminals who left a trail of bodies in their wake. Jesse James was a stone-cold killer, but he was also incredibly charismatic. Now, James was eventually betrayed by one of his own gang members, shot in the back of the head while he was straightening a picture on the wall. He became a folk hero, a symbol of the Wild West, and his story continues to fascinate us to this day. Next up, we're stepping into the roaring 20s, a time of jazz, flapper dresses, and organized crime. Al Capone, aka Scarface, was the baddest gangster in America, ruling Chicago with an iron fist. This dude was ruthless, building his empire on bootlegging, gambling, and murder. He grew up poor in New York City, and by the time he was a teenager, he was already involved in petty crime. He moved to Chicago to work for Johnny Torrio, another notorious gangster, and quickly rose through the ranks. During Prohibition, he made a fortune smuggling and selling illegal liquor. The feds were onto him, and they eventually got him on tax evasion. Capone was sentenced to 11 years in Alcatraz, and by the time he got out, his empire had crumbled. He died a few years later, but his legend as the ultimate gangster lives on. Now let's talk about John Dillinger, the original smooth criminal. This guy was robbing banks during the Great Depression, becoming a folk hero to some for sticking it to the man. Dillinger's life of crime started small, robbing a grocery store, but he quickly moved on to bigger targets, becoming public enemy #1 for his daring bank heists and multiple escapes from jail. He even escaped prison using a fake gun carved out of wood. He was a media darling too, always up for a photo op, which only added to his mystique. After a shootout with the FBI, Dillinger was gunned down outside a Chicago theater, but his legend lived on, immortalized in movies, books, and even in the minds of those who saw him as a modern-day Robin Hood. Chapter 4. The Zodiac Killer, the Unsolved Mystery. Now we're diving into a true mystery, a case that has baffled investigators for decades, the Zodiac Killer. This elusive serial killer terrorized Northern California in the late 1960s and early 70s, taunting police with cryptic ciphers and letters sent to newspapers. He claimed to have killed 37 people, but only 7 victims were confirmed. What made the Zodiac so terrifying was his audacity, his blatant disregard for human life, and his enjoyment in toying with the authorities. The Zodiac's letters were chilling, filled with threats, bizarre symbols, and claims of his crimes. Despite numerous suspects and countless hours poured into cracking the case, the Zodiac Killer's identity remains a mystery to this day. Some of the ciphers have been solved, but others remain uncracked. Will we ever truly know who the Zodiac Killer was? It's a question that continues to haunt us. Chapter 5. Ted Bundy, the Charming Monster. Next up, we're talking about one of the most notorious serial killers in American history, Ted Bundy. Handsome, charming, charismatic, Bundy completely shattered the stereotypical image of a serial killer. He used his charm to lure his victims, often young women, into a false sense of security before brutally murdering them. Bundy's crimes spanned multiple states, and his ability to blend in, to appear completely normal, made him even more terrifying. He represented himself in court, further captivating the public with his intelligence and seemingly normal demeanor. Even after being sentenced to death, Bundy continued to deny his crimes, only confessing to them shortly before his execution. The nation breathed a collective sigh of relief when Bundy was finally put to death in the electric chair. Ted Bundy's case had a profound impact on criminal profiling, forcing law enforcement to confront the fact that evil can hide behind the most unexpected faces. Chapter 6. El Chapo, the Drug Kingpin. Last but not least, we're heading south to the world of drug cartels and the infamous El Chapo. Joaquin Guzman Loera, aka El Chapo, which means shorty in Spanish, was born in Mexico in extreme poverty. He turned to the drug trade at a young age, quickly rising through the ranks with his ruthlessness and business acumen. This dude was responsible for smuggling tons of cocaine, heroin, and marijuana into the United States, fueling addiction and violence along the way. El Chapo was known for his elaborate escape methods. He escaped from prison twice, once in a laundry cart and once through a mile-long tunnel dug right into his cell. He's currently serving a life sentence in a maximum security prison in Colorado, but his legend continues to loom large. And that's a wrap on the most wanted criminals in U.S. history. We've journeyed through time, explored the lives and crimes of some of the most notorious individuals in American history. From Wild West outlaws to cunning gangsters, from elusive serial killers to powerful drug lords, these criminals have left an indelible mark on society, inspiring both fear and fascination. Who do you think was the most dangerous? Let us know in the comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss another shocking story.